And we will do this. Yes, and we are live, and welcome to an incredible and wonderful wisdom circle that I am really excited for. I love these wisdom circles. Being you, living life authentically. Of course, my name is Sophia from Sacred You, and we are truly honored to be able to present these wisdom circles, and really even more honored that the beautiful Jennylee Taylor has come to join us today to talk all about being you and living life authentically. So, Jennylee, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us about yourself and why you've brought this to Sacred You and the world, the topic, and then to introduce these amazing women that have joined you from all over the world. And I will be back at the end. So, thank you and have a beautiful discussion.
Thank you, Sophia. My name is Jennylee Taylor, and I love these wisdom circles as well. It's a great opportunity just to speak into what's happening in the world for us women. The topic of living life authentically and being you is a big one for me. It was one of my biggest challenges in life is when you get to a point and I realized that I actually wasn't being me. It took a lot of my energy. And so now I work with people. I'm a breathwork practitioner and trainer, and I work with people predominantly around coming home to themselves and coming back to a place where you can just be you and free up that energy of not, all the masks we put on and not being ourselves. So that's the work I do. I'm very passionate about it. This topic is the fourth in a series, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that after we introduce all of the wonderful women. I'm really privileged to know these women. Good morning and good evening for those who are coming on board. So I'm just going to go around in the circle and allow others to introduce themselves. Kelly, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, everybody. So my name's Kelly Greco. I am calling in from Charlotte, North Carolina in the US. And I own a company called Purposeful Pivot. And my mission really is to help women, midlife women, accomplished women that are maybe experiencing some professional burnout or some transition, try to figure out what their next is, right? What's their next act in life? So just trying to get some clarity and some purpose at this stage of life. And so I coach women from all over the world and try to help them figure out their what's next.
Beautiful. Thank you. Great work. I just realized I was on mute then when I said that. Okay, Sallyann, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, good evening, everybody. My name is Sallyann Joy from Elevating Consciousness. Elevating Consciousness is about helping people remember who they truly are beyond this physical disguise, and remembering that they are so, so much more than the physical, that we are energetic beings here at this time, chosen to come here at this time for a particular purpose, whatever that purpose may be, and to remember that essence of who we are, to tap back into our abilities, into our power, and shine our beautiful lights for ourselves and all we come in contact with. And I do have a free circles of light meditation gathering once a fortnight for anybody that is interested in coming along as well. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Sallyann. We actually did cover in one of our earlier wisdom circles that the energetic body and being you. So thank you for being here. Rachel, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
My pleasure. Thanks for having me tonight. So I'm Rachel Tamilio, and I'm calling in from just northwest of Boston. Grew up in this area, and I am on a mission to support highly sensitive women have more time freedom and gain more energy and align with their values and beliefs. Many of those women are building businesses. Some are thinking about it or want to, and I'm happy to support them in that process and help them feel like what they're doing is representative of their authentic selves. And so I do that mostly online right now over Zoom.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rachel.
My
That's a
pleasure.
broad topic, isn't it? We can go into. Fanny, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm Fanny Krentzman. I'm the founder of the Radical Love Movement. I'm located in Denver, Colorado, where it's spring already, apparently. And what I do is I bring people first home to their bodies to remember that they are nature, and remembering that they have a body and their body has a wealth of information, and using that as a portal of awareness into their authentic selves, their soul beings, their true nature and purpose. I work with individuals, businesses, and groups, and I teach a weekly embodiment class to help support people just remembering how to come home to their tissues. So yeah, I think it sounds like we all do very similar work, which is very cool. I'm excited to be on this panel today.
Yeah, amazing how we all sort of congregate together in this. And I love that we're starting to, we're fleshing out this, coming through different lenses into this topic. Laura, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, thank you. So I'm Laura. I'm the founder of Hope and Healing Coach. And through there, I coach people who are struggling with unwanted or frustrating habits. I especially love working with body-focused repetitive behaviors like hair pulling, skin picking, but I help people with all kinds of habits from stress eating, impulsive spending, procrastination. If somebody's saying, why can't I stop doing this? That's what I help with. And it's not I love that we're talking about this because I think in my work, so often there's this masculine forcing trying to change this behavior. And what I bring in is really a very feminine, let's lean in, let's figure out the messages that it has for us. And once we listen to it, then it doesn't need to scream at us anymore. So I'm excited to be here.
Beautiful, a great lead into the topic we're specifically going to talk about tonight, this morning and this evening. Alexis, thank you for coming on board. Would you like to introduce?
Hi. Yeah, sure. I am almost home. Of course, it's 5 o'clock here,
Okay.
so you never know what traffic is going to do. But I'm Alexis. So good to join. It's my first time, and I'm in Tampa, Florida. And I specialize in personal branding, so helping women and men that of course, we all have a journey and we all have a story of what encouraged us and inspired us to start our businesses. And I use that as a marketing tool. So kind of a different technique where we're creating content and we are creating credibility around that CEO founder story. And a lot of times we're working on platforms like LinkedIn, so you can connect with other business owners, or speaking at conferences or even on podcasts, you can really tell that story. So it's really interesting. It sounds like a lot of you probably have more stories to tell, and I'm excited to get into that.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And if I could just ask, Alexis, when you get home, would you mind coming onto camera so we can see you? I've got your beautiful.
Yeah, I will as soon as I can.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And also like to welcome Maxine for coming in tonight as an audience member. Thank you for joining us, Maxine. If you at any point have a question from any one of us through our discussions today about this topic, please feel free to either put your hand up or maybe type in the chat and we can answer it directly for you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome for being here. So this is the fourth of a series of 10 wisdom circles that I'm doing on this topic, and we're kind of gradually getting deeper in. The first time around it was general conversation. The second one was around looking at being you and living life authentically from our 5 bodies, which was the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual and energetic bodies, and what that actually means. The third one, which was last in December, was around, what it means to be doing you versus being you and living authentically. And this time around, I really want to dive into, this idea of the inner masculine and the inner feminine, and what that looks like, and what happens when they're out of balance, and how does that impact our capacity to just be ourselves and live life authentically. And when I talk about the inner masculine and the inner feminine, I'm not talking about gender here at all. I'm just talking about those energies that are in each of us, in men and in women equally. We all have feminine and masculine energies, but just the feminine being the intuitive, the creative, the nurturer, that type of energy, versus the masculine, which is really the doer, putting things out into the world. And from an internal perspective, the feminine will come up with the creative idea, and the masculine part of us will then go, okay, this is the checklist I need to go through to actually get it and ground it in the world as something you do. So we're quite, when they're out of balance, they can really impact us being ourselves. And I think Laura already spoke into that a little bit through the work that she does. So I just want to open that conversation. And we've got a couple of questions here. Just would anyone like to, out of the group, would like to speak into that as what they see inner masculine and feminine is, and how does that impact us showing up as being ourselves? Laura, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'll go first. Yeah. So yeah, the idea, and I love that you call out, like, it has nothing to do with gender, right? It's an energy thing, and that masculine energy is, more powerful, forceful, let's get it done. These are the things that we need to do, push through the resistance. And that feminine energy is more of that creative, and feel it and lean into it and be it, and more flowy. And so it is really important that we have both of those things, because if it's all just that feminine energy, then we might not, get stuff done, or we might not push through that resistance. We might not, show up for ourselves in the productive way that we want to, versus if it's all that masculine energy, then we don't take time to be with ourselves and feel our emotions and tap into that creative space and say, hey, am I missing something because I'm just kind of charging forward? And I mentioned in the work that I do, there tends to be a lot of that masculine energy that people come to me with, trying to address or quit those unwanted behaviors. So often they say, well, I just need to quit, or I know what I need to do, I'm just not doing it. And that is there being an excess of masculine energy, and really like shoving away that feminine energy. And we really do need both, right? It can't be all one or the other. It's important to have that balance.
Beautiful. And that's one of the discussion points I've got here is, how does overdoing, controlling, or pushing show up in our lives and culture, and what becomes possible when we allow more rest and flow and more receptivity as a balance? Because it's all about balancing that out. You definitely need both to be come back to be authentically you. And I was wondering, Kelly, through your work, particularly with women transitioning, how you see that come through.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I come from 30 years of corporate background. So, I had to balance both of them all the time. I was in marketing, so very creative, right? So I would use the feminine kind of skills and energy to come up with creative campaigns and things of that nature. But yet, to get it done, I had to pull in that masculine energy to make sure that I was, running a team and getting things organized. And so I think the balance of it is just critical, because you need them both, as Laura was saying earlier. And some of the women that I coach now are maybe leaving corporate and they want to do something else, but they don't quite know how to tap into their energy, or which side to tap into, and how to transition skills. So I try to help them find that right energy, and what they need to lean into to kind of transition to maybe something completely different, because it can be scary, right, if you try something totally new at this stage. So I think you definitely just need a balance of both to keep things moving smoothly and moving forward for growth.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Trina, thank you for coming on board as an audience member. Just Maxine is here also as an audience member. If you would like to ask a question, either just put your hand up and we'll get back to you, or write it in the chat and we'll try to answer that question. Otherwise, you can just listen. Welcome.
Hi, and thank you.
Yeah, welcome for coming. So when you talk about the corporate, Kelly, I came from a corporate background also, and I didn't even know when I left corporate what masculine and feminine energy was. It was kind of like I was just doing what I needed to do to survive in that environment. And I come from a very male-orientated industry in the shipbuilding industry, so I was often the only woman on site. And I found myself when I left, the only way I can describe it is that I was really angular. I felt really angular. I felt hard on the outside. Wasn't even in touch with my feminine side. And in fact, I was really uncomfortable with being with women in general. So it's been a real journey for me to come back to that balance. But Rachel, I was wondering if you wanted to add something to the conversation so far.
Certainly. Well, like you, Jennylee, this was something that I did not always know. I didn't understand the distinction. I'm still a fairly new subject to me. But learning about it, I've definitely seen where in my own life, it has been something that I think in some ways is tied to a trauma response. Somewhere along the line, perhaps I told myself I need to be strong to power through this, not realizing that I wasn't giving the feminine a chance to balance that out. Even though I felt things and I am a creative person, I just did not know how to integrate both. And so learning about this and also learning how it applies to work with clients has been a very eye-opening thing.
Beautiful. And I'm really pleased that you brought up that topic of diving into your masculine as that protective force, because inner masculine is that protective force energetically. And Sallyann, you might have something to say about this in a minute, but often that's what we need to do in moments of trauma, is protect that small child, protect that little girl inside of us that's that doesn't feel safe. So when do you actually become aware that you don't need to do that anymore? Is a lot of the trauma work that many of us do, I'm sure, on this call. Sallyann, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I can really relate actually to what you said, Rachel and Jennylee. Yeah, absolutely. In my earlier life, it was powering through, being strong. I can't fall apart. I need to power through, just get things done, keep on going, keep on going. So it really was that masculine, I suppose, type energy. But then life experience and growth later on, it's sort of about, okay, we do need both, because if we can become vulnerable and be authentic within ourselves, that's where great gifts can come through. We can tap into creative solutions. We can allow our intuition to come in and assist us, but then we can bring in that other aspect, that doing, so we can get the gifts and get the wisdom, and then use that aspect of doing to be then able to move forward with the wisdom and the holistic type approach of molding the masculine, or the doing, and the intuition feminine, to move forward and holistically and achieve what we really desire to achieve. So very important to have that balance, I believe, and to be aware if we're out of balance, and then look at strategies that we can utilize to come back into balance. I think it's important to have a toolbox of strategies, have an awareness, and then a toolbox of strategies we can then use to bring ourselves back into balance. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And that balance between the protector and the nurturer, and the doer and the creator, it's a real union of when they work together internally, the sky's the limit, really, isn't it? And in just being yourself and being able to really have an awareness around that. Yeah, Fanny, I'm feeling you coming in. How do you feel about that?
I One of my teachers says, and I find this to be very true, is that when you're working creatively, when you're really being your authentic self, which is your essential essence. Yeah, your essential essence embodied is that there's nothing to do but only action to take. And so I think when you're in that space of balance internally, of being guided by your inner wisdom, by your intuition, then a functional masculine energy is the ability to take action on what is in service to what really matters to you. And that there's a space within our consciousness where we have to be very clear about what do we do as a pattern to keep ourselves small, which is a lot of the doing energy, which is your egoic orientation. It's your beliefs running through you, the stuff that's like, I'm separate, I'm limited, I'm wounded, I have to be a certain way in order to survive. When you take that pendulum swing, and you find yourself in neutral, then you get to blend those energies of like, yes, survival is part of my experience, but when you're sourcing yourself from the depth of you, then you're accessing your inner masculine as the part of you that's actioning the truth that you're responsible for. And we talk about it a lot in my work, is like walking the tightrope or the razor's edge. And, like you can fall off either side very easily into your patterning, into, all of your beliefs and whatnot. But I think I'm not even sure if I made sense because my brain feels like it's melting out of my ears, but that's what was coming through for me.
Sleeplessness, yeah. When you were saying the razor's edge, it's exactly right, and the pendulum swing. But what came to me then was it's actually the sweet spot. We talk about this razor's edge, fall off the fence one side or the other and go too much in the masculine or too much into the feminine. And I don't know that there's actually a 50-50 balance. I mean, sometimes you actually need to have more masculine, sometimes you need to have more feminine, so it's a bit like being in relationship. 51% of the time, if there's a point where at some point someone takes the lead in relationship. And so it's the same for your internal relationship. It doesn't mean it's like that all the time, but it shifts and balances all the time. Yeah. So Alexis, I just wondered if you could maybe feel into this and what does it look like when your intuition and action are working together? So what does it look like when you are balanced, and how do you know that you aren't in balance? Do you have anything you wanted to add there?
I was going to ask you that. I was like, how do you know when you're not imbalanced?
Okay, yeah, great.
I think a lot of it is just listening to I think your gut and your intuition are very aligned. So, it's kind of more listening to whether you're feeling like you're not going in the right direction is at least kind of what I live by, but I'm not really sure how else to answer the question.
That's okay. Did you want to add anything else?
No, not particularly. No, what everyone said was great.
Yeah. So I guess what it felt like for me because I'm a feeling person, my work is breath work, and in breath work we go right down into the cellular memory of what our experiences are and clear any relationship we may have had with that in the past energetically. And for me, I just remember in hindsight, I was like 100% in my masculine all the time. And that was because of my work. It was because of the things that were going on in my life. I felt like I had to be in control all the time. It was just do. And I didn't know I even had a little voice inside of me going, hello, what about me? I actually need to be nurtured and looked after. And, I want to say something. You could do this so much more easily if you did something different. And what it looked like on the outside was overachieving. Like I would be working 50 hours a week. I'd be going to the gym 4 times a week. I'd be working. I was studying university at the time. And I didn't realize until I stopped I didn't even see the signs really. Like I'd get to work some days and go, oh, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, but I could really just go under my desk and go to sleep right now. So what it actually manifested was burnout, adrenal fatigue, a lot of this, having to stop, and this fear of, if I did stop, I would be weak. I would be seen as weak and not in control and not achieving how I needed to achieve. So, well, that's what it looked like on the outside for me. Now, knowing more differently, it's such a delicious thing to go, I've got an inner feminine and she needs a voice and she needs to be able to speak, and it's okay for me to rest, and all those sorts of things. So if any of you, Maxine, you have a question, did you want to ask something around that? Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting that you're talking about being more in your masculine energy, and for me, I'm more in my feminine energy. And so when you're asking like what it could manifest as, or what that could look like within a life, I would say for me, being more enveloped by the feminine, it means that I have. I feel like I do have a lot of intuition about what do I want to do? How am I really feeling? Should I say yes or no to that? Should I lean in or not? But where the masculine is missing, and that's why when the previous speaker talked about having a toolbox, I was like, okay, that's what I need. I need a toolbox. When the masculine is lacking, I sometimes have ideas for things that don't get realized, so they don't manifest. Mm-hmm. And so right now I'm working in life to always have a manifestation of whatever my idea or creative energy is circling around. So this is a great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And I'm so glad you brought that up to bring some balance to it, because I think in terms of who said about the pendulum, I can't remember who that was, Fanny talked about the pendulum. In terms of the pendulum, in my own process, I went from fully masculine to fully feminine, and I stopped writing lists. I stopped getting things done. So it's about coming back to this balance. It's all part of that process, learning more about yourself. So just on that topic of tools, does anyone have anything that they would like to recommend to the listeners and the audience members around that tools, Fanny? Yeah.
Tools are great.
Yeah.
Especially if you apply them. That's the
it might take the masculine to do that. Yeah.
Well, you gotta utilize them functionally. I use the Enneagram, and I don't know if anyone here uses the Enneagram, but I use the Enneagram actually as the blueprint for your dysfunctional personality. And when you learn your specific organization in terms of what program you've chosen to run through the Enneagram, then you can, because you see, ultimately, we're all creators. And I love that we're talking about the feminine and the masculine, because feminine energy is creation energy. Your subconscious is the feminine aspect of your consciousness, and it creates your reality. It says yes to things, it brings it into form. And a tool to use if you really want to create effortlessly is to know when you're putting your energy into your limitation, because you have an infinite source of energy in you that's wanting to create your life, that is naturally attuned to your true nature and purpose. And we all create our limitations in our life. And that's like, one, it's an orientation shift of taking ownership of your life in that way. And two, it's knowing the pattern. Because once I learned the Enneagram and all of the people I've worked with, it's like there's only 9 personality types. And I haven't met anybody who doesn't fit into one of those yet. But see, we aren't our personalities, we're our souls, and we just run ourselves through that pattern until we wake up to it. And so I would suggest, if it's the Enneagram, if it's whatever training you want that resonates with you, is to pick one and learn yourself. There's that saying, know thyself. Know yourself, and also know your truth, and train yourself to be able to stay in like you're saying, Maxine, like you're getting messages, and what's in your way is the unconscious bias towards keeping you safe. It's like your heart wants this, but your ego says, maybe when you're more realized, maybe when you're stronger, maybe when people like you more, maybe whatever. And then all of your energy gets siphoned off into that. So that's, for me, I've done a lot of different things in my life. And when I learned that structure, I was like, oh, know yourself. That's what that means. And know your heart as well. So
yeah. Yeah, thank you for that, Fanny. And certainly the Enneagram is one way to do that. But I think that the overarching message there is to really dive into knowing yourself through whatever means that is. And everyone here would have a different tool for doing that, or a different way of going about that. But it's really coming back to, you know, what is it that drives that pattern that I keep doing? What is it that I need to clear energetically out of my body from past trauma that is really informing how I do life now? What is it that what is it that's siphoning that energy off? So it's a real self-questioning thing, and it's, I don't know about anyone else on this call, but it's kind of a lifetime project. Yeah. And you just think you've cleared something, and then it'll pop up again in a different aspect in your life in a different way. But usually what's happening in our lives right now isn't about what's happening right now. It's about, you know, somewhere along the line, this thought process or this belief system has popped up that actually becomes the pattern for how you do life. And the more conscious and aware you get about yourself, know thyself within, the more you can make really positive choices that balance that out going through time. And it could be, you know, just find, like Fanny said, find something that works for you, that gives you that level of inquiry that you want to work with. Yeah. Thanks, Fanny. Yeah, Sallyann, did you want to say something?
Thank you very much, Jennylee. Yeah, but knowing yourself, I think, is so important. Like, we're all talking about strategies. We're all going to have different strategies or different tools depending on what works for us. So I think it's important to look at that and think about, okay, knowing who I am, how I react, and that's going to change as time goes by. So what am I needing now? What tools am I going to need now that are going to help me at this time? And then being open to, okay, I may need other tools down the track. And so for me, in knowing me, if I start to get overwhelmed or scattered and think, oh, I've got all these different things to do, and I get a bit, out there, and what I do is I make a list. So bring back that structure of that doing, and I'll make a list on my phone or write them down. Okay, these are the things I want to do. And as I do each one, I cross it out. And then that gives a sense of achievement, feeling as though I've achieved something and haven't wasted the day. And then knowing when I need to be in nature, when I need to get out in nature, I need to have that quiet time and connect to the intuition. So it's about bringing that balance in. There are a couple of good strategies I feel that can be very helpful. And so just knowing when I need to do that as well, and just having those strategies. And I think another thing that's vitally important is bringing our energy back to us. Like, there's a lot going on in the world. I personally can't remember the last time I watched the news or watched commercial television for that matter. There's a lot going on in the world. So being very mindful of where our energy's going, because that can fragment us. So it can put us out of balance with stuff that is being projected at us, can put us out of balance. So I believe it's so important to be mindful of where our energy is going, bring our energy back to us, which will help us be more in tune with balancing that masculine and feminine and keeping that in balance. If we're bringing our energy back to us and just being, I suppose, the gatekeeper or the monitor of our own energy. And so we can be aware when it's out of balance and what strategies that work for us that we can bring in to keep us in balance and keep us aligned. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've got some ways of doing that, Sallyann, but the simplest way that I come across in terms of bringing my energy home is just at the end of every day, mindfully sitting there with my eyes closed and drawing in every part that you left somewhere from every interaction that you've had, and just mindfully doing that and feeling that sense of coming back into your body. Having a body awareness as well, like noticing when things don't feel right, or you've got an ache in the back of your head, or you walk into a room and you feel quite nauseous. I'm being mainly feminine. I'm sure you said you were in tune with your intuition, but how is that impacting your body for those who aren't so in tune with that? So listening to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rachel or Laura, would you like to add, or Kelly even? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I thought, and this kind of goes along with what, Sallyann was saying, and and you were saying about coming back to yourself. One of the tools that I often use to try to bring myself back in, a couple of them. Number one, meditation. And there are times when I can feel myself, back to knowing yourself, I can feel myself ramping up. I've been sitting there for 2 hours working on this project, going, going, going. And even though I don't want to pause to recenter, still, kind of having that ability to know that that's what I need in that moment, so that things don't get carried off and I'm, 5 hours into, some project and I've left everything alone. So meditation is one. Curiosity is another one that I rely on often. I think Fanny was talking about, also, coming back to ourselves, and you said something along this line, but having the ability and the practice of pausing and saying, okay, what do I need right now? Do I need a bit of a shove or an oomph to get myself off the couch to start, doing the things I need to do for the day? Or do I need to, sit back and give myself space and tell myself that I am enough, I've done enough for today. And so I think that those two things, the meditation to come back to myself, and the curiosity, being able to ask myself, what is it that I need right now? And I think one of the most important things with curiosity is it's really important that you don't already have the answer, right? The masculine energies, the feminine energies, those tell you that the answer is there, right? You have to do this or that. And so being able to ask that question and be curious, and really letting the answer be whatever it is, rather than what some part of you is telling you that it needs to be.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's really about also catching that thought, isn't it? Checking in what your thoughts are saying. I really don't want to do that. I can't be bothered. It's not really aligning with where I want to be. So because the self-talk we talk to ourselves more than we talk to anyone else on the planet, by the way. 60,000 thoughts a day on average.
Okay, I do believe Jennylee may have frozen. That's okay. So who would like to go? Who would like to share? Kelly, yes, please do.
Yeah, I was just going to make an observation that I think it's wonderful that women are talking about this, because I don't know that in the past women felt the need to sit and talk about this openly like we are now. And I just know there was, I think, a statistic that was something like 75% of midlife women consider themselves in some kind of transition. So everyone's looking for their purpose or something that's important to them, and managing these energies helps you find that purpose. And so I just love this conversation, because it's wonderful to be around people that are talking about this, and that there are two sides, and that you're allowed to be feminine and you're allowed to be masculine. And I think a lot of it is your environment. What environment are you in? Like Jennylee was saying, she worked with all men, and so that brought out the masculine side. Same with me. And then I would get home and the feminine side would come into play. So I think a lot of it too is your environment, and being able to just kind of realize that, and try to keep it in alignment as much as possible, for what situation you're in is important. So I just appreciate the conversation.
Yes, and totally agree with you, Colleen, because especially in this world where, it tends to be relatively masculine and in the environments that we're in, it's very important to keep coming back to our feminine and to keep that in balance, no matter how challenging it is with the tech and everything else that we're exposed to. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Laura, did you have anything that you would like to share?
No, I think I already added what I had.
Okay, thank you. And what about Sallyann? And I do apologize because I know Jennylee's just dropped out. She should be back. Sallyann, what about your beautiful self? I know you just said recently, but please do.
Thank you, Sophia. I thought Jennylee and others made a really good point about calling our energy back. And I think it's so important to have some sort of procedure or ritual. I also, Jennylee mentioned that she had a procedure, ritual, whatever she used each night. And I also do as well, where I call my energy back each night. And I also cut cords. And even doing that during the day, like I was triggered to do that last evening after I'd had some guests, and just doing that when we feel we need to do that. So being mindful of calling our energy back to ourselves, or if we feel that there's something that's there or heaviness that's not ours, being mindful of sending that off. And so I think it's important to be our own guardian and monitor of our energy and just be aware and calling our energy back or sending something off that is not ours. So I think it's important to have tools or procedures or awarenesses to do that. And then of course, then work on the balance of the masculine, the doing, and the feminine, the intuition. Once we've done that, to just have that balance, I think is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Sallyann. And can I ask you, and I'd love also for anyone else to share, but when you said that like you call your energy back and you became aware of last night that with your energy, what does that actually mean? Let's put that for anyone who is watching the live
Okay.
or the replay. What does that mean for you? How do you call your energy back?
Okay. Well, each night I stand before I go to bed. I stand and I center myself. I call back all energy that has been lost, stolen, or given away. I call that back to myself. I cut all cords that may be there. I also have raise my vibration to connect with that pure prime creator and place myself in a bubble of golden light. So they're just a few little things I do. So calling back all energies lost, stolen, or given away, because thought forms can be very powerful. And if we're worried about somebody, or we're thinking, or we're agonizing over something, we're giving energy out. So thought forms can be very powerful. And so if we call in all our energy back from any interactions we've had during the day, I think that can be really, really helpful. So just calling it back before we go to sleep, and then before I go to bed, place myself in a bubble of golden light, put my hands around my aura, bubble of golden light of protection, and raising my vibration to connect with that pure prime creator. And then I think it's also important before we go to bed at night not to be listening to, watching, or engaging in any low vibrational or disturbing type thoughts. Like as I previously mentioned, I do not listen to the news, mainstream media, or not mainstream media at all, and I have not done so for many years. I think it's about being aware of when our vibration drops, like things that can drop our vibration, like mainstream media. I think disturbing fear-based stuff there can drop our vibration. So I think it's just important to be aware of that and be energetically discerning of what drops our vibration. I think that can also be very, very helpful, and disengage from those things that drop our vibration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else love to share any tips or techniques, any rituals that you have to really connect with that the sacred feminine, the divine feminine, and that really allows you to step into the power of being you. I'd love Fanny, please do. And then we'll go to Alexis.
Yeah, this will be quick. Similarly to Sallyann, you know, it's just like a law of the universe where attention goes, energy flows. And so, you know, you give your power away unconsciously all the time, all day long, thinking about things, you're in a past story or whatever. I mean, I do everything body based. Your body is always present to now. And depending on where your attention is, your body actually expresses that experience. And so all I do is I just bring my attention back to my body. And I do that by putting my attention in how my feet are contacting the floor, or I yield into gravity, making more reciprocity with the earth underneath me. And all just coming to your breath. Like your breath, your breathing pattern sets the tone for every other system in your body. And it's also a consciously controlled and unconsciously controlled mechanism, right? And so, very simply, and your body is essentially energy. Also, metaphysics now, or quantum, whatever the words that I can't remember. You know, it's like you're just space and energy, essentially. You're just like imagining your form. And so, especially the way that I teach it, it's when you just bring yourself back to your body, when you feel your body, you do those things and you get to notice where your attention has been, and you get to reclaim your attention that way. So that's what I do. And there's also movement practices that help support any rigidity in your holding in your mind. So
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. I'm definitely going to be re-watching this and listening to everyone. And Alexis, what about your beautiful self? Did you have anything that you want to share that helps you to step into your being you and your feminine power?
Yeah, I really liked that answer, Fanny, because mine is also very physical. I know I agree, like your mind and your body are very connected. So how you treat your body is, also going to reflect in your mindset. So, and especially as a business owner myself, a lot of people want my attention, and I have a lot of meetings and conversations I have to have throughout the day. So, how I best take care of myself, I call it kind of sandwiching in self-care. So, every morning it's prioritizing movement and, activity and, really just focusing more on myself. And then usually at the end of the day as well is also kind of sandwiching that in with another kind of moment and opportunity to just be with myself, whether it's activity because I didn't get to it in the morning, or it's a facial or a massage or chiropractor, like something else that also kind of just makes me feel my best. So that way, I get a good night rest and can do it again the next day. So that's kind of how I'm able to, continue to treat my body as a temple so I can do and put out the most effort as possible throughout the day and be connected with myself as well.
Thank you. Totally agree with you, especially about the massages and stuff, because we need
Yeah.
but it's even deeper. I mean, I've been realizing that yes, we need to take care of our body physically, including massages or chiropractors or physios or whatever it is for you, but then to go even deeper and to connect with that part within us. But I'd love to know more, and please, we're opening up for everyone. And Jennylee will be returning soon. She's just sending me messages that her computer is rebooting. But have you got any other tips or anything that you'd like to discuss about the ongoing process of balancing the masculine and the feminine so we can be who we are authentically? Rachel, I haven't heard from you since I've been here. I'm going to pick on you.
Such great perspectives from everyone. I'm learning a lot here. I really appreciate everything you're bringing to the subject. For me, as I said, this is a fairly new concept to me. not being aware of what I was doing or when or why even. Now that I am more intentional about it. What I have found, for me, what's really important is mornings, to set the tone in the morning. For me, that's quiet. I don't really want to talk to anybody first thing in the morning. Ideally, I want to be outside, having that unfiltered daylight hit my eyeballs. That's really important for me. Movement, incorporating movement in this. I've been learning and doing Tai Chi because I feel that that helps me connect body and spirit in the way that I need to start my day in a balanced way. And another thing that I have found is to intentionally put myself not only in places, but doing activities that activate that part of me that I'm not really integrating very well. So, for example, I mentioned the feminine is what I tend to not nurture very much. And what I have found is doing something as simple as sketching, activating that creative side of me, giving myself permission to do that. I'd like to say I do it every day. I don't, but it's once a week. And this is a fairly new thing. I have found this to be very helpful in helping me integrate and balance, as Sophia said and asked about. And in my situation, just spirit of full disclosure here, this is a real challenge for me right now. I live in a situation where it's kind of like living in a hospice house. My dad is at the end of his life. My sister is his primary caregiver, and I'm supporting her, and I'm running a business. So as you can imagine, there are many different moments in a single day where I have to be more conscious of what energy I am calling into, where it's going, when, how. It's a lot of balancing that has to happen, because if it doesn't, I can suffer in all kinds of ways. I'm also midlife, so there's hormonal challenges, right, and changes. Sleep patterns have been affected and things. So again, this is another reason why I appreciate all the different perspectives that you're all bringing, because it's really helpful to me, and it's also something that I can definitely incorporate with my work with clients. So I don't know if that answers your question, Sophia, but those are some of the things that I have found are helpful to me in these moments.
Very, very helpful. So thank you. And it does answer the questions. Thank you ever so much. And just sending you and your family best wishes for what you're going through now. It is a challenging time. So I hope it all goes well. Thank you. And before we wrap up, and I'd love to give Trina and Maxine also an opportunity if you have anything that you would like to share at the end, but would anyone else like to share anything about stepping into being you authentically and balancing those energies that we all have within us?
I'd like to add something, Sophia. Rachel, I love that you use the word permission, because I think so often when we think about balance, we think about it as I have to like make the masculine step back, or I have to make the feminine step back, or it comes from a place of kind of pushing to get balance. And so I love that you use the word permission. Sometimes we have to give the masculine energy permission to step forward, or give the feminine energy permission to step forward. And it doesn't have to be a pushing away. It can be an inviting in. So I just wanted to speak on that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So Fanny, Kelly, Alexis, Sallyann, last words of wisdom?
I just,
yeah.
well,
Yeah, Kelly,
oh,
please,
go ahead. I was just going to say, I think, Laura, you just took the word out of my mouth. I was going to say, give yourself permission to just intuitively, use whatever energy you feel is necessary for the situation or environment you're in. You can't force it. I feel like you intuitively know what needs to show up. And the more you can kind of tap into your mindset and internally look inside and see what you need and give yourself the time to figure that out and use what you need at the right time is key. So thank you.
Sallyann, you were going to say something.
I think first and foremost, we need to remember that we're energetic beings having a human experience. And so just being very, as much as we can, just monitor ourselves and how we're feeling, and then that will help us then, I suppose, create our human experience as to what we're needing, whether we're out of balance in one area or another, but just be our own guardians, our own monitors of our energetic system. And then from that, reading that, okay, what it is we're needing to come back into balance. And I think that's an ongoing, continual work in progress, really. So just being very aware of that all the time. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you. Thank you ever so much. Trina, who's come back, would you like to share anything, or Maxine, just before we wrap up?
Thank you. It's been interesting. I've been in the background listening, enjoying.
Thank you. Well, we're honoured that you joined us. And Maxine, your beautiful self, do you have any questions or anything that you would like to share?
I have to say that this is such a beautiful circle. I feel like I'm in like this circle of wisdom. So I wanted to thank all of you. And there's so many things that you said that, sometimes you hear things and you're like, yeah, I know, but you don't actually like embody them. And I think that's at the stage of life I'm at, is wanting knowledge that I'm not just thinking about. I'm actually, it's like it's embodied, it's happening. It's a ritual, it's a self-care. So a lot of the things that you were talking about, that toolbox, I think even just the self-talk, like I remind myself sometimes, if I say to myself, oh, you don't feel like doing that, Maxine, just do it. Like even that helps me. So it's just like a toolbox of just, when you're in that moment, what do I pull from to get the results that I want? So you guys gave a lot of great wisdom. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate from you for joining us, and for Sallyann and Laura and Rachel and Alexis and Fanny and beautiful Kelly. Thank you also for joining us, for being you. And Jennylee, who unfortunately is still having issues coming back. We have to go with the tech, but Jennylee will be back next month. I'm hoping these beautiful women will be joining, or at least some of you will be joining, same time next month. And Maxine and Trina, you're also welcome to come back and join us for the next stage, the next segment of Being You, Living Life Authentically. And for anyone out there who is watching the live or the replay, do click on the links to reach out to these beautiful women. And while you're there, check out Sacred You. Obviously, it's sacredyou.love. We have many wisdom circles that are coming up. The next one will be very soon. I'm just looking at the date. Is Outgrowing Who You Used to Be. The gift of getting uncomfortable, which I do believe our beautiful Laura will be facilitating. I am looking forward to that, Laura. That's in not too far distance, just over a week away. So really excited about that one. Like I said, we've got so much else to offer. We've got archetype circles, our special interest tribes, and so much more. Come and join us for free. Hang out in the village, and we will see you next time. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you all.
40.